Hello, I decided to get on this afternoon after doing a few things, and it just kind of hit me. It's like I decided to go ahead and I've got my physical release due to be delivered Monday. I'm excited about that. But I've been working on some new sound sculpture work involving sampling and layering and sequencing, and just finished up a series of pieces where I felt like I got to a point where it's like, okay, this kind of feels like this is like a snapshot, this is a body of work. And so I kind of described it like that. I decided to, I've been working on editing it for the last few days, the pieces, and shaping them to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, this is flowing like, this is new, and this is good. So I have released it today as a new release called Paths Spatial, and I'll leave a link because I know it's hard to understand me sometimes, but the way that I've described it here on Bandcamp is they are short sonic sandwiches. And I kind of, not kind of, I really like the sound of that. It just kind of encapsulates what's going on with the way that I work. Haikus, and as I've been also describing my work. But this is 8 short pieces. Now what's interesting is I'm excited, and lots is going on, but it's like I'll just decide, okay, let's do this today. And so I went ahead and released that, and just as I go to release it online, I get the news of the passing of another giant musician, McCoy Tyner. And then I thought to myself, well, it's no coincidence, it's just the reality of life that there is this ongoing dampening of, well, that's not even it. It's just how there's the highs and there's the lows and there's the ins and the outs, and it's just the way that it is, and it's constantly going on. So I can have my personal joys, and then there'll be these things that happen where it's like, well, not happy about that. So I was just playing one of my oldest McCoy Tyner records in my collection. I have a long-standing love and respect for McCoy Tyner. Of course, but I say of course, first being introduced to him through his work with John Coltrane, which is in many ways unsurpassed. Of course, there are other players who played with John and have done some amazing things with John Coltrane, but you understand what I'm saying about the history of McCoy Tyner and the work that he's done with John Coltrane. But Song of the World, I've had this since it came out, 1973, Dust the Ringware, and well loved. I love these pieces, and he does Afro Blue is just a piece that I've heard done by many people. I don't know who all, but this version is just, it's wonderful. I also have I never met him, like I've told the John Coltrane story. I remember that. I don't think I've ever been around McCoy Tyner in that sense, but I did go see him in concert in the 80s, and a little bit of a story here. It's kind of interesting, or funny anyway, maybe. So maybe it wasn't even the 80s yet. It might have still been the 70s. Might have been the late 70s where I went to see McCoy Tyner in concert in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm dating myself because the thing was that I sneaked a cassette deck. This is how long ago it was. It's like I was so excited, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna record the show. And I was very nervous about the whole affair because if I had gotten caught with the cassette deck, which is you're not supposed to take them in, I'd have been thrown out. And I got through and got the recording, and it was actually a pretty decent recording. But lo and behold, years later, here's the rub. And I think that it's full circle learning experience karma. In my other house, I wasn't as responsible. I learned some responsible lessons. But hanging out on the punk rock scene, I hung out with some street people, street kids, and had people in my house through my involvement with drugs and stuff that really I had no business having them in the house. And so what I'm getting at is my house got broken into. I got robbed a couple times, and I come to find out that, I knew who they were later. I couldn't get anything back directly, but among other things, they stole a bunch of my cassettes. Now, I don't even understand why they would have done that. But among the cassettes that were stolen was the McCoy Tyner concert, and that really hurt, but those were some tough lessons. It has a lot to do with why I'm like I am. It's like, okay, you use people and they use you, you know what I'm saying? Or you facilitate bullshit behavior, and much as I love my punk rock roots, some of the runaways and the street kids and the kids that I met through the mental health system just dealt with a whole lot of madness. You know what I'm saying? I learned. So the McCoy Tyner is related. Man, it's like I have lamented losing that cassette many times. It was an intense show. Eric Gravatt was on drums. I remember that. He blazed. Eric Gravatt, who first came to my attention when he was in Weather Report. McCoy Tyner has put out a lot of records. I have not endeavored to try to collect him, but I do have some. I have Fly with the Wind. Here's another that I'm familiar with and love, Sahara. Let's see, Sunny Fortune is on here, Alphonse Mouzon on drums. This one is fantastic, McCoy Tyner album, Sahara. Here's a compilation, Great Moments with McCoy Tyner, and I picked this up, and it's something I popped in the background. I haven't really looked at it to see where the all the tracks are from, but I have that. McCoy was 81, apparently. That's man, I'd love to live as long as I can, and 81 is a good run, bless him, we can live a long time at 81, bless him. Focal Point, another really good one. If you see this is a good one. Well, he really didn't make too many fluff albums, although there are periods in his life where you can see where, well, he's got to definitely keep some money coming in, so whatever the record company says goes. And here's a perfect example of, well, maybe I'm wrong, but it does seem like he was doing a little bit of concessions to make money here. The Legend of the Hour, La Leyenda de la Hora. This is good, but it's got kind of a patina or a sheen on the production and the approach. You can even kind of see with the graphic approach here where it's kind of like, hey, this is safe, check this out, this guy's been traveling, some kind of shit like that, you know what I mean? It's a good album though. he didn't really make bad records. Inner Voices, with both Eric Gravatt and Jack DeJohnette on different tracks on drums on here, and Ron Carter on bass. A giant of a musician. Yeah, much respect to McCoy Tyner. The Greeting. Sonship. He played with the best. Here's another one where this was given to me. I can tell by the initials of the person who, another interesting story where I got these records. Was going to try to have the person make a donation, and he insisted that I take them. He said, no, you take these records because you'll listen to them. Okay. I was trying to give them to a charitable organization that I was associated with, because he had this big soul and jazz collection, you know, and I thought, wow, you know, this is just the sort of thing that people love, but this is one of them. Supertrios, double album, one with Ron Carter and Tony Williams, another with Eddie Gomez, Jack DeJohnette. That says it all right there. And here another of my favorites. I love this McCoy Tyner album. Time for Tyner on Blue Note. This is one of his Blue Note albums. He's got Freddie Watts on drums. The drumming is really important, especially to my ears. It's always been important to McCoy because McCoy is so rhythmic and signature in the way that he plays, you know, and that you have to keep up with him, you know. I think that the way that he got his shit together playing with Elvin Jones for so long, it's kind of like, well, you know, you cannot half step when you play with McCoy Tyner. I want to get on and enthuse about that right quick. Before I go, some of the things that are laying around that I wanted to just mention. I think I got this through Charlie Kaywood or Cowwood. I just happened to pull this and put it on Tonochrome. And I really enjoyed the music. You know, I got to be honest, but the thing that really brought it down was the vocals. The vocals are the weak link. But this is good. A Map In Fragments by Tonochrome, I believe is how you say it. Musically, this is very interesting. It's prog. It's just the best way to put it. It's progressive. You know, there's putting all kinds of different stuff into it. And it sounds contemporary as well as having references to the past, progressive moves in it. It's good. Wanted to mention that. Today, earlier, I was listening to this. I hadn't played it in a while. This is one of my longtime favorite records of all time. Soft Machine 4th. This is my actual copy I bought in 1971. I've never not been able to, but I've just never replaced it. I know it's been reissued, and if I come across it, maybe I'll get one. But this is just, when they went in this direction, completely instrumental and more jazz, I dug it right away, even as a teen, even coming off of Third. Well, you could hear this coming off of Third. I did lament Robert Wyatt being not singing, because I love his singing, but at the same time, the music just made so much sense, what it was doing to me, what it was doing, yeah, and to me as well. So that, I've been meaning to mention this again, because the record label sent this to me, and it was just released at the end of February. AKB. This is the piece of music that is about trying to capture the Mariana Trench depths, which is Ambient. I'll leave the titles below. This is really good. I've listened to it a few times now. It does capture, you know, it's not Eno light at all. It's its own thing. That's one thing I want to say for sure. When I use the word ambient, I'm not referring to just Eno. And good to hear from you, Andy, you know, regarding Harmonia. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Let's try to have some proper understanding of how things go down. And I've keep forgetting to mention, because it's not vinyl, and I've already put it on the wall, but David, who watches the videos, sent me a Hosono poster, and it's on the wall. Thank you. Thank you, David, for the Hiromi Hosono poster. You know, Hosono is one of my greats. He's one of the greats. Okay, folks, there's so much more I could say. I could just talk, and there's much to say. Keep the music spinning. Try to keep your heads together, because these are insane times from my perspective. They really are. The political madness, and just the mere fact that the way people are going on and on about their stuff, as though that, number one, that they're right, and that somehow, number two, that there's going to be somehow some kind of outcome of all this madness, as opposed to it just continuing on and on, which is really what's going to go on, and what is going on. It just keeps ramping up. As I say often, thank goodness for music and art and love, you know. I just had some friends over recently, some musicians, and we had a really good listening session. Haven't had one like that in a while. A friend came up from Lincoln. It was a surprise, Jake. I know some good people. I do, thank goodness. You know, I don't have time for knuckleheads. You know, you look at the news and see what people are doing to each other. You know, and I've associated and known some of those people. You know, and you look at what they're doing to their lives and to each other, and it's like, it just makes me scratch my head. It's like, man, you know, choices. We have choices. All right.